George, Jeff, and Robert are all stellar employees in the Lodi area. They're thrilled to have employment and thankful to be contributing to the Lodi economy. But not too long ago, these three men were among the estimated 150 people living on Lodi streets, in parks, along rivers, or under bridges. Their lives so tattered, the idea of having good jobs was unthinkable. Each of them eventually made their way to the Salvation Army and took advantage of their rehab program. Today, George is in charge of quality assurance at Lodi Ironworks. He counts this job as one of his blessings.
It's built my self-worth back up. They've given me responsibility pretty quick, and that feels pretty good to have somebody rely on you. Whereas a couple years ago, nobody could take a word I said as truth.
Indeed, George's past is a far cry from his life today.
I was married, and through the alcohol abuse, which led to cocaine abuse, I wasn't a functional husband anymore. And so I was essentially asked to leave my house. I didn't want to drink, but at a certain point, I couldn't control it.
28-year-old Robert is an employee at Lodi's Merit Woodwork. Like George, his life was in shambles, a drug addict, an alcoholic, homeless for 6 years on the streets of Lodi.
Out there, it's a 24-hour job. You got to worry about your water or your living amenities or where you're going to get the next meal or in my case, the next fix. I get moments of peace nowadays, and I'm grateful for that.
But those moments of peace only came after an arrest.
I wound up going to jail, and I got a moment of clarity inside jail, and I realized I didn't want to be the person I've been being. I wasn't raised to live like that.
Jeff is another valuable employee at Lodi Ironworks following years of substance abuse and homelessness.
When you're in that low part of your life, like I was, it's hard to even think that you could change your life. It doesn't seem possible.
Yet each of these three men, in their own way, did change their lives through Lodi's Salvation Army recovery program. But it wasn't simply by walking through the door. They had to be clean first.
Here in Lodi, we're the only shelter. So I've seen over the years a lot of people come that we hope to get into our program, but they just can't get over that hump of getting off that drugs and alcohol when they're out there unsheltered in the elements. What the Salvation Army offers is wonderful, but you have to be clean and sober to stay here. You have to pass a breathalyzer and a drug test.
For those who can make it through the door, under these rules, they have the chance to turn their lives around, find work, sobriety, and peace. But for so many, that first hurdle is just too high. And so they continue on the streets of Lodi, lost in drug addiction, mental illness, or past trauma. They continue to spiral downward, moving from one spot to another, getting a chance to shower and a change of clothes once a week as Salvation Army, simply surviving day to day.
When I was running around on the streets out here, I would come in the Salvation Army often, and they helped provide for some of my basic human needs. Like it was to come in and eat real quick and leave, or to get some clothes and a shower and leave. And one of the things that held me back was you've got to give a clean drug test, and I wasn't very capable of giving those. Like I said, I had to go to jail first.
And this is why the city of Lodi is hoping to build a low-barrier access center shelter. It would welcome the rest of the city's unsheltered population, those who can't achieve sobriety by themselves or see clearly enough to seek help. It's a concept fully supported by the Salvation Army.
The whole purpose of the Access Center is to have wraparound services for those in need. So what I mean by that is, we're going to have case managers. You'll have connections with behavioral health, HSA, Central Valley Housing. So the hand up, not a handout motto is going to really take effect with the Access Center. For those that just want to come and lay your head, you're going to be given a certain amount of time. For those that want to come and better themselves and work with a case manager to gain employment, go back to school, to work with Central Valley Housing, then it'll be a tiered system to where they'll be given different levels to the shelter. I believe every human being is salvageable.
John is speaking from experience. It's likely one of the reasons he's so successful helping others work through the process of recovery. He knows what can happen with just a few bad choices.
At the age of 27, I got introduced to smoking methamphetamines. And to make a long story short, I went from making $80,000 a year at the age of 27 and having a 8-year career to, at the age of 30, having nothing. I lost my way, my family, my sanity, my freedom. And my addiction took me to looking at a 12-year prison sentence. And at that time, you know, the judge said, I have one option for you. You can either go to program or you can go to prison. And of course, I chose program. I just celebrated 20 years of recovery in August. I've been working for the Salvation Army, giving back to the community for the last 10 years, and it's very rewarding.
So I slept on the sidewalk over here on the fenced off area. Here on Lawrence Park, I slept on the grass. I slept under the stairs on the other street. I slept over here by the movie theater, by the bus station. I got into using heroin. I smoked it one time, and after that I shot it up and I fell in love with it. And that's how I was on it for 10 years.
At 32 years old, Stephanie, a Lodi High graduate, is finally clean. But it's been a long road. Had she been able to find shelter and services in a low-barrier access center, she could have saved herself and her family a lot of misery and a lot of years on the streets.
I sold my soul for something that I couldn't get off of. The withdrawals are basically unbearable, and you want it every day. I just couldn't give it up. It's like a demon inside you that you just can't feed. I would actually see other people, normal people walking around, and I wanted that so bad, but I just couldn't get there. But I'm very envious of normal people. I wanted that, but I don't know, I couldn't stop.
For Stephanie, it was an arrest that would send her to prison or drug rehab. She chose rehab, and it worked.
It brings me tears. Very thankful.
Stephanie also wants to see a low-barrier access center shelter in Lodi so others could have the same opportunity at a new life that she now has.
My heart bleeds for them because I know what it's like. You don't want to be homeless, but you don't know how to get out of it. And so to cope with it, you use more and more drugs to numb your pain and to numb your sorrow and your sadness. And you feel like there's no way out, but I've been in that dark, deep tunnel. And I can't describe it to you, but despair and heartache, and I'm just so grateful to not be there anymore.
When on the streets, even the simplest steps out of homelessness can be insurmountable, like the paperwork needed to apply for services, documents that have likely been lost along with the roof overhead. Catherine, a volunteer social worker, is currently filling that gap. She goes out into the community nearly every day with a laptop, a printer, and a charging station for cell phones. There's always a line of unsheltered people seeking her help, looking for a way out. Today, she's making a difference in Billy's life.
There are probably half a dozen different housing programs, and you need to figure out which one's the right one for the right person. You need to have a photo ID. You need to have your Social Security card. You need to have your medical card. If you're missing any of those pieces, everything comes to a screeching halt. I don't know if you've tried to call Social Security, but you are literally on hold for 30 minutes. And we will sit here at the table on hold for 30 minutes. The young Billy, we got his benefits transferred because we were able to use my phone, kept it charged. He is now eligible for all services in San Joaquin County. He was not eligible before.
With an access center, these very basic, very necessary services would be provided. It's one more step toward helping people put their lives back together, get off the streets, and out of homelessness.
The main goal is hopefully to get that person to where they're a productive member of society, paying taxes, working, reunited with their family, or getting a second, third, fourth chance, whatever the case may be.
While getting off the streets is a major accomplishment, staying off the streets is the key to any community solving its homeless problem. Lodi is fortunate to have numerous businesses not only willing but anxious to hire and train people like George, Jeff, and Robert. Because of these businesses, hundreds of people whose futures seemed hopeless are experiencing long-term success.
We take a chance as employers all the time. We're taking a chance to see when we hire somebody to see if it's going to work out in the long run. And with the homeless, when we're hiring the homeless, it's the same situation. Except for 95% of the time, there's a gratefulness and a dedication and a loyalty that is almost immediate because they're so grateful to be given that opportunity. And I got to tell you, they step up and they hit a home run for us. That's been our experience.
When I first hired someone through the Salvation Army, I was really impressed with the work ethic I saw and the how much they wanted the job, and they weren't just showing up for the paycheck, but just to be a part of something. It just kind of helps bring even a greater purpose to our work here as well, because we're not just building parts, we're also helping be a part of building people.
I'm proud that I work for a company that, can help out the community. If more and more companies can help out like we do, well, I think we would have less homeless people on the street and help try to create a solution to the problem.
When the community comes together and supports each other, we get positive employees into the workforce, successful businesses, healthier citizens. Our community becomes stronger, richer, more compassionate, and productive.
I got a purpose every day, I could get up, and I appreciate that and enjoy that.
It's awesome. I got to be a father today. I got to be a son to my mother and father. I'm comfortable in my own skin today.
One of the things I'm the happiest about is I have a daughter that's 2.5. She'll never have to see me drunk. And if 2 years ago I couldn't say that. Now that she can start to remember things, she's always going to remember me as her dad, not be embarrassed.
With the Access Center and the full support of the community, the people that are going to be involved with it are people that are experts in each and every one of their fields. And when we all come together, there's nothing that we can't overcome.
Every life is worth saving though, in my opinion, and you don't know what good can come out of someone's life if you help them.